Not clickbait, so stay tuned. Okay, I'm like already out of breath and I haven't even started talking. Hey guys, it's Ainslee. So, long time no see. I know I have not uploaded a video since like March. So yeah, it's been a minute. I have a little announcement before I get into this video. I actually started a vlog channel about probably a couple days ago, maybe a week or something like that. But if y'all have not checked it out or subscribed to it or anything like that, you should definitely go check it out. It's going to be linked down below. Go subscribe, check out I have about 4 vlogs up right now. But y'all should definitely go check those out. I'm going to try and start getting back into the routine of my weekly Wednesday uploads. I'm definitely going to be more active on my vlog channel, probably doing at least 1 a week, hopefully 2 to 3 if I can. But y'all should definitely go check that out. I'll definitely be more active on there. And yeah, you should just go see if you like vlogs and stuff like that. You should definitely go check it out. So I guess without further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and get into my story time. Alright, so obviously y'all already, like, by the title of this video, you probably have some idea of what it's about. But yeah, so this is about me going on a date with someone from the Vampire Diaries. I am going to give a disclaimer though. This person did have a small role and they were in 1 episode, but if I were to mention, like, if I were to say the character's name and you watched Vampire Diaries, obviously I was a huge fan, but I never finished the end of season 8, so do not put spoilers in the comments or I will be mad. But anyway, so if I were to say this character's name, y'all would know like who I'm talking about. And even if you didn't watch the show, if I still said the character's name, you might still know who it is. So this was about like towards the end of 2015, so this was still when the show was running. I think it ended, so it was the end of like 2015 and it was like the current season, and so I was like FaceTiming one of my friends and like I had the show recorded because I like usually didn't watch them like when they were live. I just recorded them and then watched them later. So I was watching like the newest episode I just recorded, and my friend, I was FaceTiming her while I was like eating and watching the show. And she also watched the show and she was like, oh my gosh, so-and-so is like so hot. And I was like watching it and I was like, oh my gosh, like yeah, he is. I was like, you know, he kind of like looks like he'd be around our age, but you know, like actors usually look younger and they're usually older. So when I was like looking him up, I expected him to be like 20 something, and at the time I was like 16. So I'm looking him up and like, so I look up his character's name or whatever, and then like I'm looking at him like, wow, he's literally like the same age as us, like he's 16. And then I'm looking at his name and like, wow, his name like sounds and looks really familiar. And so like I look up his agent and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have the same agent. And if y'all don't know, I do like acting and modeling sort of, and I have an agent in Texas where I live, and then I also have one in Louisiana, which is convenient because I'm going to school there, but that's besides the point. So anyways, so I'm like, oh my gosh, we have the same agent. And then I remember I've seen this kid like a long time ago, like when I was like younger. Like I'd see him at auditions, and like our moms like sort of knew each other. Like I don't know if she would remember my mom, but like my mom knew him. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I remember this kid. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like he's literally with the same agency as me, that like that means he lives here. And so I like, after that I went and followed him like on all social media, like Twitter, Instagram, all that. And like a couple months later, so this was like in November, and like a couple months later, I think I've been liking all his Instagram pictures, and I think like February, I like eventually commented, which is like 3-4 months later. I literally don't know why it took so long to do that. But yeah, so I eventually commented on a couple of his pictures, and he like replied to me, and then like I replied back, and then nothing really happened with that. And then so like the whole like the school year ends and whatever, and like I kind of just like stopped, I guess, trying to pursue him or whatever. And then so the summertime comes, and like just, I don't know, but then August comes, and so like nothing happened between February and August, like just literally nothing. And then so August comes. I don't know if y'all remember this app. It was called Xoxo. It was like popular for probably like a year or two. I don't know what happened to it. It's still on my phone, but it like doesn't work, and it's like not a thing anymore. But if y'all don't know what that is, it was like basically you took like GIFs, whatever you want to call them, and that's pretty much all it was. But anyway, so I'll insert like something like the app icon of it or whatever, or like a picture of it over here if I can. But yeah, so I followed him on there because he like did not have a huge following on there, and I was like, oh, maybe he'll notice me on here. So then I wake up one day and then it says he hasn't followed me, but he liked 2 of my photos, and I was like, what? And like, so like I was like already like freaking out. I'm like, okay, so this guy is like from the Vampire Diaries. He liked 2 of my pictures, which obviously, like, you know, that has to mean like he's attracted to me in some way. So obviously I'm like freaking out by this. And so then I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it, shoot my shot. And I don't know, anyway, so they didn't have DMing on that like app or whatever, but they had this thing called private messaging, which is basically like just private comments. And so you basically like comment on someone's picture, but only you and the person you're like messaging can see it. So I private messaged him or commented or whatever, like on one of the pictures he had liked of mine, which sounds really weird, I don't know, but anyways. So I like messaged him and was like, hey, add me on Snap. And then he replied, I might be able to add the screenshots in here if I can find them, if I even like still have them. But he said gladly with like this emoji or whatever. And I was like, yeah. So like when this was all happening, so my friend like had my account on her phone because I was like, okay, I'm too scared to see what he says. Like, you have to keep my account. Like, you know, I don't know if I'll do that, but yeah, anyways. So when this was happening, I was out running errands. My phone had died. So she was seeing this and like, I didn't know. So she's already like spamming me from this. And then he adds, by the way, you're pretty hot with like these emojis. And I was just like, what? And so, yeah, so that already, like, I literally came home and was like screaming around the house and like jumping up and down on my bed. Like, it was a mess. Anyways, so like I was like, just like, is this happening? Like, is this even like real? Like a year ago I was watching you on TV in my living room and now you're like calling me hot. Like, what? But anyways, so I plugged my phone in and like I have like a ton of missed calls and like messages from my friend. She's like spamming me. So he eventually like added me on Snap later that night, I think. And so like I Snapchatted him and I was like, hey, and he was like, hey, and he was like, you know, kind of being flirty with me, saying, you're so pretty and like all this stuff. And then he was like, oh, like, hey, like, where are you from? Like, and I don't know. I honestly don't know if he knew that I knew he was from the Vampire Diaries. Like, I don't think he's like dumb. Like, it didn't really ever come up. But I don't know if he knew who I was before. Like, I don't really think he would go on a date with some, I don't know how he is or whatever. But I don't really think he'd go on a random date with like some girl he just found on an app. I don't know, but that's just my opinion. He maybe never knew who I was. I kind of had the feeling he knew who I was, but I'm not positive. Anyways, so we're messaging that night and he's like, hey, like, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, Texas. And I was like, what about you? And he was like, dang, yeah, Texas. Looks like I'll be seeing you soon. And I was like, like, okay, yeah. So anyway, so we were talking, we're like, yeah, we need to like hang out soon, like do something. And so we basically just kept saying we needed to do stuff and like Snapchatting, but like never actually picking a date. And like at the time he was out of town coming home and I was leaving to go on vacation. And then we just, like, I didn't really hear from him again and we kind of like just stopped talking. And so we didn't really talk. I mean, sometimes I would put stuff on my story and I was like, oh, hit me up. And he'd be like, oh my Lord, gladly, and all this stuff. And still kind of being flirty and saying, oh, you look good in this, blah, blah, blah. And so that kind of happened from like the end of August until the beginning of October, which is when, so fast forward to October. So it was like the day before my birthday and I had my friend over because she was sleeping over or whatever. It was actually Maddie, who used to have the channel with me. If you don't know her, then just go check out some older videos. She's in a lot of them. But anyways, so I was like on his account, like, I don't know, stalking him, whatever. And so I don't know what I did. I didn't screenshot, actually I might have screenshotted something. I don't think I did, but I might have. But I didn't like anything. I didn't like press, I didn't do anything. And so Fajodo sends me a message and is like, oh, liking so-and-so's content or Fajodo's or whatever, we'll let them know, or like something like that. And basically it like just came off or gave me the impression that it was gonna send him this message that was basically like, hey, Ainslee K or whatever has been stalking you. And I was like, yeah. So at that moment, I literally, like, I wanted to die. I was like, why? Like, I don't know, maybe that's why I got shut down. Why would any app like do that? Like without you even like doing anything? Like I just, yeah. So I was like, okay, he's literally never gonna talk to me again. So that at that point I was like, okay, I'm done. I really hope he just does not see this. So anyways, it basically told me they sent him this message, and I was like, okay, I'm just done. I'm just totally, I'm done. I'm just done. Anyways, so then the next day I was like at the mall shopping with Maddie. It was my birthday, and we were like, I remember we were in Bath and Body Works, and I got 5 notifications. 3 of which were that he liked my pictures, and then 2 of which were that he commented. And I was like, okay, he for sure like said like something like, I'm weird, like just stop like messaging me, like stop contacting me. I don't know. I just was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be something horrible. Like this is bad news. And so I'm like, Maddie, you have to like check what he said. Like I cannot, like I can't. And then she was like, he said gorgeous with like this emoji and the fire emoji, and then cute AF on like another one. So I was like, is he like I was like, at this point I was like, okay, he's probably just trying to like, okay, he's probably just like messing with me and trying to like, oh, this girl's obviously like obsessed with me, I'm just gonna like play with her, whatever. But then and so like you couldn't like comments or anything like that, so I just like didn't do anything about it. And then later when we were in Hollister, and then I get a message that so-and-so is typing, and then a message from him on Snapchat. And I was like, what? And so like I was like freaking out, and then like later Maddie and I were going to meet up with my grandparents at lunch in the mall. And so I eventually opened the message there. It was like an hour later, and he had said, hey, happy birthday. And he was like, hey, add me on my other account, this one acts up too much. And so he like always on his Snapchat, he would take like a while to reply, or he just wasn't on that much. His score was like pretty low. And so I was like, oh, okay, this is probably like his public account, and he's probably telling me to add him on his private one. So I was like, okay, gotcha. And I was like, okay, thanks, like I'll add you. And he was like, thanks, love. And I was like, so anyways, I added him. And then he didn't Snapchat me again until the next night. So anyway, so he Snapchats me the following night. And I had like been waiting for him because I added him the previous day, like around lunch. So I was like waiting for him to Snapchat me, and I was like, okay, is he even going to? And then he eventually did. And he just said like, hey, and stuff like that. And so this was the day after my birthday, and we ended up hanging out the following Friday. So it was like 4 days after my birthday. So we were like trying to think of things to do. So we ended up meeting at a local mall theater, whatever. And I was literally so nervous. Like I was literally, because like I got there first, and like I purposely did that so I would like, you know, have time to like prepare myself. Like I was literally like, okay, how is this even happening? Like he's like hit on me many times and like been flirty with me, and like I'm going on a date with someone I was watching on TV like a year ago. Like is that real? Like I just like, it's hard to process. Like it's weird to even think about now. But anyways, yeah. So then I see him coming up the escalator, and I literally like, he's like, my face was probably so red, guys. I just don't even. Anyways, so then we meet up, and he's literally like so tall, like literally like I was looking up at him, and so right now I'm like 5'5.5". At the time I was probably like 5'4", 5'5". I swear, like he was probably 6'4", so like literally like a foot taller than me. We're like, hey, and then like we hug or whatever, and I literally step on his feet. Like I'm like, okay, that's my luck. Like it's just so bad. Anyways, so he's like, oh, you look great today. I'm like, thanks, you look nice too, or whatever. So we go up to the counter, get our tickets. He pays, very polite. Anyway, so we go into the theater, and so okay, honestly, this movie was like the worst movie ever. It was Don't Breathe. I don't know if y'all have seen that. I do not recommend it. I literally hated it. It was really uncomfortable. It was a scary movie. I picked it out because it was a scary movie, but like I don't recommend it. Like it was not good. But anyways, so we walk into the theater, and he's like, and there's no one in there. And he's like, oh, we have the whole theater to ourselves. Nice. And I was like, ooh, okay. But anyway, so we sit in the back row. I don't know if that's cliche or whatever, but anyway, so we're sitting in there, and then eventually some other people come in, and he's like, oh, darn. And I'm like, whew. I'm kind of glad about that, but yeah, anyways. So like the whole movie we're sitting pretty close together. Like we're kind of talking throughout the movie, but like not a ton. But before the movie starts, he's like, oh, you look really pretty today. And I was like, oh, thanks. Like he was being super flirty, whatever. But I was literally like, how is this, the whole time I'm like, is this even like real? Like, how did I manage to have this happen? Like, I don't know. So anyways, so we're at the movies and then it ends or whatever, and like he was like, okay, I haven't talked to him since then, like that's literally the last time I saw him. He was polite, you know, paid and stuff like that, but like after the movie, you know, he does acting, he does modeling. I don't want to say, like, if I said he models for like a pretty like well-known store now, and if I said it, I might give away who he is, so I'm just not gonna do that. But yeah, so I would say he's like a little bit full of himself. Like, I'm not trying to like throw any shade out there, like tea, whatever, but yeah, so after the movie he's like, yeah, I was like in a horror movie once, but the only good actors in it were me and like this one other guy, and I was like, okay. Anyway, so afterwards we go get froyo. I like drive us, like he got dropped off there by someone else, and so we go to get froyo and he pays for that too, super polite, nice, whatever. And so the reason I think he did know who I was and like that I was with the same agency with him beforehand is because we were talking about acting while we were at froyo, but like neither of us said anything about our agent, so I don't really know. And then my friend FaceTimes me and she's like, hey, like what are you doing? And this was totally not planned, but yeah. And so I'm like, oh, I'm at froyo with so-and-so, and then she's like, oh, hey, like, and this is the friend I was like watching the show with a year ago who's saying like, oh, so-and-so like really hot, you know. Anyways, so she's like, oh, like y'all should come over, and I'm like, hey, do you want to go like over to my friend's house? And he kind of was like, but anyways, we ended up going and he was like fine with it. And so yeah, we get there, and then my friend is, and so this whole time it's just like we all know who he is, and it's just, yeah. So I was there, he was there, my friend was there, her boyfriend was there, and our other friend was there. And so we all go upstairs and we're sitting on the couch and we're trying to find something to watch on Netflix. My friend is like, oh look, there's new episodes of the Vampire Diaries, and I was like, really? Like, did you have to do that? And so anyways, so we're trying, and he is like, oh yeah, I was like on an episode of that. And then my friend's like, oh my gosh, like really? Did you get to meet like all these people and whatever? And yeah, so it was like fine, it was casual, whatever. I did not react at all. I don't even know if he knew that I knew he was on there, but whatever. And if he's watching this, which I highly doubt, again, he'll see this, but if he does, then he knows now. So then my friends are like, and let me know that it was a Friday night, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go do homework. And I'm like, cool. So we're sitting on the couch talking or whatever, and then he eventually kisses me, and I'm not gonna go into more detail about that. But after that, we go into my friend's room, we're talking with them, and then I eventually take him home. We hug when I drop him off, and that was that. So then we talk for about the following month, but never hang out again. He's like, you know, still flirty with me, saying like, oh, you're so pretty, you're beautiful, gorgeous, all this stuff, still commenting, liking on my photo. Eventually he did follow me, but that app is no longer existent. And then he would always say like, oh, good morning, good night. We'd talk about music and all this stuff, but then I'd always be like, oh, hey, like, what are you doing this week? And he's like, oh, like, I'm super busy, even though when we were hanging out, he's like, we're definitely hanging out again, but like, I don't know. So then eventually it's like November, like middle of November, and he Snapchats me and is at like a bonfire laying next to another girl, and I'm like, yeah, I know it's like a one-time date thing or whatever, but like, I just found it weird that he was still talking to me for the following month, and I don't know, but obviously we were not dating. I don't really think you consider that a thing. I don't know, probably nothing more than talking a thing, I don't know. But yeah, so that was literally the last time I saw him. I haven't talked to him since 2016. Well, actually, well, it was still 2016, but in December, because he eventually like unadded me from his private Snapchat. He still has me on his public one, but like he never gets on it, I don't think, because I don't see anything ever on his story, so I don't know. But like on his private one, he eventually unadded me because I couldn't see his score anymore. And yeah, so I messaged him eventually on his public one. I was like, hey, why'd you block me? And so then he's like, what? Like, I never did that. I was actually just thinking about texting you. And I was like, were you though? Like, were you? So yeah, that was pretty much all of that. Anyway, so that was all for today's video, all for my story time. If you like this story time and want to see me do more story times, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Comment below any video ideas you'd like to see from me, and make sure to subscribe and push the notification bell if you haven't already to be notified anytime I upload. And also make sure to be following me on all my social medias, Instagram, Twitter, and I'm on Snapchat. They'll all be linked down below. But that is all for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys, love you.